Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pod TV's World Politics. Tonight is very exciting for the United States, where we are running neck and neck with the United States 37th presidential election. We just have so many people that have something to say about it, but you know what? I don't think there's convincing people anymore of who to vote for. I think everyone has it listed who they're to vote for. What I want to tell people is please, please, after you vote, go and register back into your voter's registration online and confirm that your ballot went through. They actually have a little section there where you can scroll down to, and it will show that you voted, you did early voting or today's voting, when you voted, and that it was accepted. So please make certain and confirm that your ballot has been accepted. Now, there are a lot of things going on. There were rumors of bomb threats at some of the polls. Some heated controversies yesterday. A teenager apparently took a swing at a 70-year-old. So, at the rally. So things were getting heated. I think it's time now to be calm, as David and Walker says, and just let the rest happen. And we'll figure this out later, what needs to happen after the election. Again, the last time I looked, it looks very much neck and neck. But with us today, we have Adam Lamparello, all the way from Georgia. Hi, Adam.
Hey, Kimberly, how are you?
Fine. Love your background. You look like you're always at a football game.
I'm a big college football fan.
Right. And we'll bring everybody else in. But real quick, what does it look like in Georgia to you? Are people showing up to the polls?
People are showing up to the polls. The early vote favored Republicans slightly, and the turnout is as expected today. Right now, if I had to choose between being Harris or Trump, I would choose to be Trump, but that doesn't mean Harris can't win. Like you said, it's very neck and neck. But when you look at the registration numbers, the turnout, including a slightly lower turnout in some urban areas, and the electoral map, which Trump only needs Pennsylvania essentially to win the election, I think it's slightly in his favor, but you don't know what could happen. We could have Harris or Trump by the end of the night, which I think we will know by then.
You actually think it will come in? I was listening to Trump just before the show, and it sounded like he said that we're not going to know tonight, and so I was just kind of like, well, what's up with that? So he said that the way that they do things now, the results come in slower. I don't know, do you?
Well, they're going to come in quickly in the states that matter, and that's going to be Georgia and North Carolina to start us off at around 7:30. And then at approximately 8 p.m., we're going to get some indication possibly from Michigan. 9 p.m. and from Pennsylvania. So I think at the very least, we're going to know or have an indication of who's likely to win by the end of tonight. I think it'll be Trump, but I certainly can't be sure. It could go either way.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. I don't even want to look at it anymore. I did listen to some of the speeches today, what I call like the last run little rallies, in their own hometowns or wherever it is that they're waiting at their convention centers. And I know that Trump is down in Mar-a-Lago. Okay, we have Rick Rosner in.
Hey.
So Mark and I are having to kind of tag team here because my buttons are not working on my computer today. So you just have to bear with me. Hello, Rick. How are things going in California for you?
California doesn't matter. California is 2/3 Democrat. I tweeted that I went to my polling place and Ryan Reynolds was making crepes for everybody, which is
there you go.
But looking at Georgia, in early voting, according to this source I'm not sure of, Republicans 48%, Dems 45%, but women outvoting men by 12%. So does that cancel out, or women crossing over? We don't know, but we will know about Georgia faster than just about any other state, because it was the center of so much intrigue in 2020 that they have really streamlined their processes.
Yeah, I mean, and it's quite interesting, the report on women voters getting out there. They've had so much conspiracy theories going on. I had to turn it off. But
I've been listening to in the background MSNBC and CNN while I do other stuff. I haven't been listening to Fox. I don't know if Fox is telling people that it looks good for Trump, but the vibe off of MSNBC and CNN is celebratory, which you think they'd know better after 2016. Mm-hmm. But you really want to breathe the vibe and think it's going to be good for Harris.
Well, I think there's three important points here. The first is you have to look at the polls that matter. The polls that matter primarily is Atlas. Atlas is one of the most accurate pollsters and was in 2022. They showed Trump ahead in all but one of the swing states. The second thing is this is an election of demographics. The question is how much are women going to outperform men for Harris, and how much are men going to outperform women for Trump? What about how Latinos and African Americans vote? Young women, will they vote on abortion sufficiently? Generation Z voters generally, older suburban women. So there's so many different demographics intersecting. The third thing I'll say is that over 70% of the country of voters think the country is on the wrong track. And I think at the end of the day, what's going to win out is immigration and inflation, not abortion and outright hatred for Trump. But we'll see.
Sasha's got his hand up.
Yeah. We'll talk to Sasha, and then I'll give you a review.
Shaq is raising his hand.
Go ahead, Sasha.
The latest poll I saw just probably 15 minutes ago from The Economist. It's quite respectful magazine, and they showed first of all, they showed how this lines developed. It was when Biden and Trump raised his stake, and he was winning almost 75%, and Biden was going all the way down. All of a sudden that stopped, and the new lines came with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And again, Trump was on top for most of the times. But you have to understand that this is his third election in a row. The man is running third election. There is probably nobody in history of the United States who ran 3 elections. However, Kamala is running her first election ever, and she had only 109 days, so even less so. And the fact is that today, that election is already underway, she is still considered to be at least 50% chance to win. According to economists, she has 56% chance to win, and Trump 43%. But again, that's an economist. I wouldn't say that that means a lot. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. It doesn't really matter. Just contemplate that right now they got neck and neck, and finally, in the last couple of days, Harris now has better than 50% chance.
So I wanted to quickly, before Shaq goes, I just want to say Atlas, this pollster Atlas, are they good or are they lucky? Like in Major League Baseball, you get about 600, 700 at-bats in a season, and so you know who's better at bat. But with elections, you get 2 or 3 at bats, 2022, 2020. So luck is a huge thing. And Atlas, I don't know, are they good, or did they just happen at random to land in the right place last time?
Well, to answer that question, you have to look at their sample and how they've sampled, and their sampling looks very reliable. I'll turn it over to Shaq because I've already spoken.
Right.
Yeah. So look, a few things. Sorry, Gidley.
Go ahead. I'm
So
just
a few
having
things-
problems with the buttons, but go ahead.
All right. So a few things I just want to make a comment on. The betting markets are a more reactive extension of the polls. I think when you look at all the polls, you look at the aggregates. As I said on last night's show, or this morning's show for you guys, I do think that the polls are going to be wrong, and it's either going to be a massive win for Donald Trump or it's going to be a massive win for Kamala Harris. I don't think it's going to be close. I base that on the number of factors. The fact that Kamala Harris is appealing, or her ads are trying to appeal to the shy voters. With the MAGA crowd can be quite rambunctious and quite rowdy, and it could be that a lot of people don't want to say that they're voting for Harris. So you might find the opposite of silent majority that you found in 2016. On the other hand, I think that really the momentum's on his side. The betting odds have got him, they're pricing him in with a 63% chance at the moment. It's important to just put that in perspective. The betting markets have gotten 10 of the last 11 elections correct. The one that they got wrong was when Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton. So that is a fairly ominous sign, I think, for Democrats. But a lot of things are being taken for granted by Republicans when they say that they're ahead. A big thing that I think is worth looking at is Republican registration, and also the concern that some people have brought up about the potential that the Republican early voting has cannibalized their base, or perhaps catalyzed their on-the-day voting numbers. I don't think that that'll be the case. I think there's some fairly ominous signs there for Dems. If you have a look at Pennsylvania, for example, there's been an 8% drop in the Republican early vote, but there's been a 40% drop in the Democrat early vote. So they've gone from a 1.7 million vote count to something like 900,000 for the Democrats. So you're actually seeing a couple of million votes across those three, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. You're seeing an increase in Republican registration. I don't think it bodes well for the Democrats, but as you said, anything could happen. I think there'll be some surprising results. I certainly expect to see some blue states that you wouldn't have expected to flip, and potentially you could see some red states that you weren't expected to flip as well. To what Adam said, look, if Trump gets North Carolina and Georgia fairly early on in the night, that makes it a much more difficult pathway for Harris. However, if Harris wins either one of those two states or both, then that would indicate that Trump's in a lot of trouble. I think that she needs Georgia or North Carolina as well as Pennsylvania. The race is hers. I think with him, he's got a few more different pathways.
And, that's a good point made. I've had some exciting conversations with people from all over the United States today, and spoke with some people who've never voted before in their life, 40 years old, and they actually went out to the polls. And usually it's just because their life was just always preoccupied. And then some of the conversations I had were exactly, some of the things, that Adam emphasized many times over and over, that it's going to be, 2 to 3 reasons why people vote one way or the other. And immigration and finances ended up being the top 2. And so, regardless of whether they had their facts from this place or that place, majority of the people I spoke with, their top 2 was immigration and finance. So, Rick, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a positive sign for Dems that the early vote has been huge, even though it's been goosed by Trump giving encouragement to Republicans to vote early and by mail. But we've got, when all the early votes are in, and it takes a while because some states count by mail ballots as long as they're postmarked by election day. But the numbers are going to be 90 plus early and by mail votes, which is close to the 101 million under COVID. And then we're going to get close to 70 million day of votes this time, which means we're going to beat the COVID vote, which was the biggest vote in history. And traditionally, the more people who vote, the better it is for the Dems.
There's been a case in Georgia where the GOP challenged the mail-in votes that if they're not received by today, would they still be counted? Now the GOP won that. However, they lost the hand-delivered absentee ballots. So, yeah, look, Georgia could be an interesting situation. I'm a little bit more cautious than you about saying that a high turnout would indicate that it's something positive for the Democrats, simply because Donald Trump increased his vote from 2016 to 2020. Now, if there is another high turnout, that would require him also to have a decrease in his support from 2020. And I'm not sure whether that'll be the case. I would tend to think that he could very well actually increase his turnout. And if there is a lack of enthusiasm that's been feared by people in relation to Kamala Harris, then there's a chance that he could actually take the popular vote. I don't think that should be taken away as a possibility. It's relatively rare for presidents to win the election without winning the popular vote. So this election could be way different to others.
Well, what do we think about?
There are going to be a lot of.
If you watch the lib channels, which I have on in the background, because Fox makes me too crazy, they talk about the last 2-3 weeks of Trump's campaign, which was pretty weak and weird, at least according to the lib channels, which because he was like saying ugly stuff and he simulated a BJ, and JD Vance yesterday called Harris trash, and Harris hasn't been doing any of that stuff. At her last rally, she didn't even say the name Trump. So what do we think? Is that going to make a difference?
So Rick, look, as I've said before, I think that to really see how the other side's thinking and feeling, you've got to look at what they're saying. If you're not going to watch Fox, and if you're going to, cancel subscriptions to services that trend anywhere to the right, then you run the risk of putting yourself in an echo chamber. The whole thing he did with the microphone, it was a little bit weird. I think it was a double entendre. If you watch the whole thing, it wasn't that big a deal. Just saying it's weird and this and that for his campaign the last few weeks. Well, a lot of other people view it differently. But you also made mention of the fact, you made mention before that MSNBC are sort of, they've got quite a joyful celebratory vibe. I'm not sure what MSNBC you're watching, because a couple of hours ago, Joe Scarborough was going off and looked very angry, and was talking quite sternly about all these different things for the electorate. So I'm not.
I only had it on for the past, I don't know, hour.
I don't think that that's the case. And also, CNN's analysts have actually said, I'm sorry, Sasha, my phone's quite far away. I didn't see your hand up. I'll just quickly say this. CNN's analysts have said there's a maths problem that Democrats actually can't make it, or they're going to have some problems making it. So even left-wing media tends to be suggesting there's a real danger that Trump will win this. Sorry, Sasha. If anyone's got their hands up, please tell me, because I can't see my screen properly from where I'm sitting.
That's interesting. Okay, I was watching CNN for about 15-20 minutes before I came to this program. There were exit polls in 2-3 states. I don't remember exactly. And so CNN personnel was interviewing people who already voted. Very interesting is that people who voted for Kamala, they first of all revealed whom they were voting. Number two, they explained why they were voting.
So it's pretty good. This thing had funny, so and it's still charging. Great. Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, Sasha.
Oh, okay. So So they were revealing that they were voting for Kamala and explaining why. Well, few of them mentioned abortion issues. There were one young girl, 18 years old. There was a woman about 32, 33. A couple of others. Now, those who voted for Republican, for Trump, they wouldn't reveal whom they were voting, and they wouldn't explain why they were voting. One, though, he said that he was voting for the Republicans, and when he was asked why, he said, "No, I'm not going to tell you why." So this is a level exactly corresponds to analysis that the lower level of education, the more likely those people are voting for Trump. The higher education is, most likely people will vote for Kamala. That's a fact of life. Now go and figure out.
But did you read the article yesterday or last night about the 17-year-old who was at a Harris rally, and he was with a group of other teenagers causing issues. They were wearing Trump shirts with the middle finger. I don't know if you guys seen it, but Trump had a T-shirt with the middle finger, wearing sunglasses, and apparently got into like an altercation with a man that was a little bit bigger than him, and he turned around and he just punched the mess out of a 70-year-old woman and knocked her off her feet. And of course, he got arrested. But I just think there's just too much turmoil and angst. And everybody just thinks that they can throw a punch at somebody, as opposed to just, let's talk about this instead of calling each other names and being rude to each other. And I'm hoping that somewhere after this, the United States can calm down a little bit, and we can start, talking instead of, spouting out rude obscenities at each other, and just being human again. But it's like David and I, Walker and I had a quick little chat. It's just really sad that we just can't get a third party off the ground. But there really weren't very good candidates. And maybe the focus will be the next 4 years. The No Labels will spend time grooming a couple of candidates that could be good for our country. Because regardless of who gets in the office, I think this is going to be a challenging 4 years, because nobody's going to be cooperative. Congress will not be cooperative. And I just think that's, and we talked about that too, where we're going to make the best changes isn't always the president, it's the Congress. And that's where we need to start focusing a lot of our efforts on, especially with the financial turmoil that we're in. And I knew that they were going to use that as a swing vote, and they did. But yes, Mark, I see your hand. I could barely see you. Where are you
No
at?
problem. I'm actually at the Haytime Heritage Center. We're actually going to be having a watch party for the election, and all along those lines, we're going to have people come in to watch the results and see what's going on at the Cultural Arts Center where I'm at, and all along those lines. So there will be a watch party here at this venue starting at 6 o'clock and running till about 10. So we'll see what the results are and what is happening. I know that on Friday, 3 days after the election, Reverend Barber will be here, and he'll either be a happy camper or a sad camper. Depends on what happens. I was watching some of the coverage earlier today and everything, because I was watching ABC News, and some of the ABC coverage was very interesting. They were talking to the Latin community, and some of the Latin community is definitely coming out in support of Kamala. There are others that are concerned about immigration, so it seems like a mixed bag in that space. They also talked to a number of young people that were voting for Kamala Harris because of certain things that they are hoping to see happen. And like y'all, I've seen people that have made observations about the women's vote and all along those lines. So it's going to be very interesting which way it goes. As Shaquille knows, and some of you know, I've had different guests on, including one earlier today that had fought against Trump in New York and everything, but that was a recorded show, so it'll be later on aired. I doubt it'll be aired today and everything, but it was just interesting hearing these folks' views that had direct encounters. And I did see one of the interviews where the person basically said, it was kind of like what I think is a Shaquille or Shaq, or might have been Adam, said they were voting for Trump because they only vote for Republicans. So there are people that vote for people strictly on party identity or because of certain issues and all along those lines. Because they even asked the gentleman and kind of like, and now I remember it was Sasha that said it. This particular gentleman said that he only votes for Republicans and never votes for Democrats. It doesn't matter who the Democrat is and all along those lines. So it ought to be interesting because what I was saying is that we began the show because I know I was getting out and everything. And I'll wrap up and everything is that I was literally at the bus terminal and there were the usual campaigners and canvassers that were taking people to the last push to vote because they've got 2.5 hours to get to the poll and they will also get them back home. So there were a series of people that were taking people out to get to vote on this last minute push and all along those lines. So that's where I've seen, and I literally saw that when I came out earlier today after having done Pod TV stuff and other stuff at home
I'm sorry
during the course of the day.
show today. I'm sorry I missed your show at 2 because I know that you had a good interview today, and I got tied up taking care of some other things so that we could do this tonight. But I think this is one of the biggest elections, at least in my lifetime. It is probably one of the biggest elections to exist. I can remember Clinton being a big one as well, not Hillary, but Bill. But I see a lot of excitement from both sides. I don't see like anyone, it's equal. It really is. And I think that's why we're seeing a tie right now. I have to wonder, does anyone even think that it could just shift and there be a landslide?
Well, that's my prediction. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm actually hoping for one, either way, Republicans or Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. Because if it's a very, very close election, and if it requires people to hand count the votes and you don't find out until the middle of December, as Mark's guest was suggesting, I just think Americans are they're on edge and they've had a really difficult, very stressful few years. And to be honest with you, I think the rest of the world is getting a bit stressed out watching your election processes. So it'd be nice for you guys to be able to, at 10 o'clock, well, probably not 10, but at midnight, be able to say, look, the election's won, Donald Trump's won, or Kamala Harris has won, and oops, sorry about that. You got a good view of my dashboard. It's just a matter of going through the rest of the states, but it's already clear who's won. I think that would be much more beneficial to America. As for the reasons why it would be a landslide, as I said before, I think there's a chance that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to vote for Harris that don't want to say that they're voting for Harris, and so the polls are wrong. There's also a chance that and that the pollsters have overcompensated for the errors that they've had when they've underestimated Donald Trump in the past. I am mindful, though, that the lead pollster for New York Times actually said that the problems that the polls have experienced in the past still exist. So that's going to be the big wildcard factor, is how wrong the polls are and what direction they're wrong in. Because if they are wrong for Donald Trump, that'd be pretty devastating for the Democrats. So one way or the other, I'm picking a landslide.
Yeah, I don't know, but it would be nice. Yes, Rick.
This is yet another critical presidential election that is tied to our reproductive systems. So if you look at Reagan Carter, that was one where sex had almost nothing to do with it. Carter said he was a good Christian, and it was very, he would never screw around on his wife. And Reagan said he got all his screwing around done with back when he was a movie star. So sex didn't have anything to do with it. And the year 2000 had a lot to do with Bill Clinton getting with Monica Lewinsky, which pissed off Al Gore. So he didn't use Clinton. So Gore lost narrowly. Then 2016, Anthony Weiner had to sext underage girls using his wife's computer, and his wife was Hillary's chief assistant. So the FBI reopened the investigation, costing Hillary the election. And then this one, we have abortion, which has to do with our reproductive systems, and also, more remotely, Trump getting with a porn star. So it's
well, and if you look at a lot of the people that are up there, like his donors, they've all been kind of, charged with sexual offenses and things like that. Steve Wynn and a couple of the others. Yeah.
There's
I think
two
you have to really try and have a bit of a
I
sense
agree
of
with you,
humor
though. I
about.
think the focus is on that.
I think you really have to try and have a bit of a sense of humour about things, because otherwise you do want to put your head in your hands and scream or cry. Because this election campaign, we've had presidential candidates, specifically Donald Trump, a presidential candidate debate where one of the candidates says, "I did not have sex with a porn star." But one of the things that some people, and obviously it's wishful thinking, but some people are saying, "Oh, New York could turn red over a squirrel and a raccoon," and the rest of the world's looking at America going, "But the decisions you make are going to affect everybody." You know, people are saying that World War III could be averted or more likely to happen, and it could all rest on.
Yeah.
What's
Yes.
interesting, I saw a clip on YouTube where they showed how in 2016,
Something that maybe it's. Sorry, I'm in the tunnel. I dropped out.
okay, remember what you wanted to say, and you continue when I will finish. Okay, Shaquille?
Yeah, let Sasha talk. Go ahead, Sasha.
There were incredible celebration in Kremlin in 2016, and they were drinking champagne, and they were kissing and hugging each other when Trump won the election. The same celebrations they were planning in 2020, but not for Joe Biden. So when Joe Biden won election, there were no celebrations in Kremlin of any kind. And now 2024, they are prepared for big celebrations. But this time, it's not so much to celebrate that Trump won election. All Russians want to do, they want to disrupt the election machine of the United States. They want to instill the belief that the system is rigged, that it's impossible to have fair and square election in the United States. This is their goal. So Trump, if wins, that's great because that's what they wanted. But even if he doesn't win, they want to make sure that election is rigged. In other words, coming back 4 years ago, the election is stolen and something is not right. This is what Russians doing. And it's really a pity because Trump is becoming really a little boy in Putin's hands. This is unacceptable.
You know, and that was a concern that David has brought up more than once on a few of the shows in the past maybe 2 or 3 weeks, even on American politics, is his concern about BRICS and the power that it has been gaining just in the past few months. You know, they added 30 more countries into their superpower niche, and it's getting bigger, and we're dividing and getting worse. And if you know, a country divided can be easily conquered, very easily conquered, and it's unnerving. And when David brings it up, I can see the concern in his eyes about what could happen if the wrong person is in leadership. So, you know, it's BRICS is a concerning matter, and I don't think we're paying enough attention to it. I don't think our priorities were right in this campaign to begin with. You know, you can complain about the migrants all you want, but they die massively crossing over, and we've got thousands of teenagers dying at the hands of guns every year. And that should have been the campaign. You know, the migrant problem will eventually fix itself, but the teenagers killing each other, and you know, over 43,000 students were exposed to gun violence at school, and that's just not right. Children are scared to go to school now, and I think we need to adjust our priorities, and that the campaign should have been focused on that. I mean, our prisons are safer than our schools right now, and that's just inappropriate to me, the way this country is running. In fact, I just spoke with a parent who they at a private school, and they had a kid bring a gun in, and several kids turn him in, and I guess because, you know, the parents are big donors, they tried to sweep it under the carpet. So now they're having to get, you know, bigger law involved to take care of the matter, because no child should be coming to school with a gun threatening to kill kids. So
I'm going to have to drop off, I'm afraid. I will try and come back in a little bit, but as you guys know, I'm on the way to the studio to do the election show here in Australia. Good luck to everyone. God bless. The issues you brought up, Kimberly, I think those are issues that are facing the United States that need to be tackled by both sides of politics. It's not just about this election, and certainly the BRICS nations. We need to actually, in my opinion, I've been advocating for this for a really long time. We need to get an international alliance back together. We should start with the Five Eyes nations, which is the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. Get us back trading with each other. Get us back out there building diplomatic relationships with the rest of the world. Expand that into the 14 Eyes and really do something to stand up for the values that we care about. But if I don't get a chance to come back before this show ends, God bless everybody, and try not to become too disheartened if you don't get the result you want.
Stay warm in Australia. So, you know,
it's going to be a blistering hot day today. It's 32 degrees apparently Celsius.
I was just having a little fun there.
And you'll be pleased to know I am wearing my American flag shirt. I'm not sure if it shows up.
With your Republican red shirt. So
actually, the shirt underneath is a "Make Australia Great Again" shirt. It's not an American one, but I will just say I did buy a shirt for the election, which had a big eagle across the front of it and a big American flag and some of the Constitution written on. And then there was a delay, and it arrives here on November the 10th, which is not helpful to me for today's show. But anyway, good luck, guys.
Use it to vote. Use it to support who won. But you know,
I certainly will. Whoever wins is America's president. If you don't like the result, tough. It includes Republicans on that.
We need to suck it up, whether we like them or not, and just get through these 4 years focusing on priorities. I do want to mention that I'm sure that we're all under a lot of election fatigue. Tomorrow's show, Medicine and Science, which, like I said, my keyboard's not working like it should. So it is at 2 p.m. Wednesday. Dr. Patmos is a infectious disease expert. So he speaks a lot on the pandemics, other pandemics, not just the COVID. I mean, we've talked about Mpox and several other things, but we're going to be talking about, I think, the number one pandemic, which is election fatigue, because I'm sure we're 2
p.m. That's 2 p.m. Eastern time. It's 11 a.m.
Yeah, because you're on the show as well, right, Rick?
Usually, I have something stupid to say to throw in.
Oh, no. I enjoy watching it.
And speaking of something stupid to throw in, I was afraid to go to school. In high school, I was afraid people could see that I had a boner, and I was afraid that people could see that I'd stolen my mom's makeup to cover up. I usually had one big zit someplace.
I think I was more afraid of being seen with a zit than I was anything.
It's funny. One of the issues in this election that really is fundamental is the philosophical underpinnings of this country. I'm of the philosophy that people should never rely upon the government to solve their personal or societal problems.
Or financial.
Or financial. You talk about the government and gun violence. Well, preventing gun violence starts with families. It starts with two-parent families. The proliferation of single-parent families, particularly in the Black community, has been devastating and increased poverty and violence. Kamala Harris thinks the government is the one to solve people's problems. Never talks about families, values, communities. And I'll tell you this, Kamala Harris wants a socialist government. And if that happens to this country, we will be in deep trouble, because that would be giving the government authority over people's liberty and their lives. And Sasha, you know that, and you know that's what the rich elitists want. And if Kamala will be one step closer to that.
Adam, I'm sorry. I didn't expect it from you. You're not listening to Kamala Harris' speech presentation.
Why should I listen
you
to her?
are listening to commentaries from Fox News. That's what you're doing. All the Republicans are stupid idiots by listening to Fox News commentaries, but not the actual Kamala Harris. You never done it, so just go away, okay?
Listen to Kamala Harris's own words in which she said exactly
I did that for the last several days. She never said what you just...
Look what she said in 2019 and 2020.
I'm going to
No,
take
it's
Adam's
a Fox News
logic.
interpretation. Go and take them to toilet. Your
I'm
Fox
going to
News.
take
Okay?
Adam's logic. I'm going to take Adam's logic. And if that's the case, because both sides have heard Hitler coming out of Trump, and if Trump becomes the president, we're going to have a communist party where he's telling everybody you will never have to vote again. I've got this. I'm going to take control of everything. And what's more communism than taking women's rights away from them, banning books? That's big government taking over.
Name one right that Trump took away.
Trump is
Name one.
threatened to kill people because they oppose him, and not the enemy outside, because he just said it. I've got it on recording.
You're taking
He
them
just
way out of
said that
context and
that the
misrepresenting
enemy
what he
within is worse than China, and that is not true. What he
Kim.
needs to be doing is uniting the people, and that's what Kamala is trying to do.
Kamala
But he
Harris
needs
is
to
for
say, you know
universal
what,
health
people?
care,
China is worse.
mandatory buyback program.
We need to unite.
That's socialism.
You have to learn from
He's
Republicans.
communist.
Whatever
He's
is
threatening to
Trump
kill
saying
people.
is not important.
Use our
He's
military.
lying as usual. It's important what he does. What he says is not important. He is lying as usual. He's lying 36 times a day. So who can figure out whatever he says, whether it's a lie or whether it's a truth? Nobody can figure out, Adam, including you.
Well,
Kim,
J.D.
Kim,
Vance,
I
his
really
wife
appreciate
got to run behind him and go, he didn't mean to say that. He didn't
Listen,
mean to
Kim,
say that.
Kim,
So-
I appreciate Kim your different perspective, and I enjoy discussing
true.
that with you.
Let me respond.
As far as you go, Sasha,
Let me.
Actually,
you
I
are so
think-
blinded by hatred. You know, Kim and I can have a difference of opinion. That's fine, respectful.
I hate this
So blinded by
son of a bitch. I hate
That's my
him with
point.
all
Thank
my
you.
heart. Yes, you got it. You got it. I hate him with all
Kim,
my
thank
I
you for
do
disagreeing
too.
civilly with me. I
hate
appreciate
him
that.
for personal reasons. I hate him for two personal reasons. One, we gave
You don't even know him.
when we were really young, and he filed bankruptcy, and we lost all of our investment money while he still got to keep all of his. And then the other, I do blame him for COVID, 100%, not for COVID itself, but the way he reacted. And the way he reacted killed millions of people. He gave away PPP loans very inappropriately, and then nobody ever had to pay him back. So I blame him for two of the biggest problems we've ever seen in my life. And then the third one, the financial disaster that we're in with the Tax Cut Job Act. It is just pathetic that nobody actually sits down and reads these tax laws. And I was just listening to the conference before the show. So, but Nick is on, guys. Hi, Nick.
Well,
Do
Nick,
you
so
have this
I want
election?
Adam says he has to go. I want to respond to Adam.
with the
So-
big guy speak, but I don't know who else is coming.
Harris is not a socialist. Tax rates are at multi-decade lows, and she's not going to raise it much. And if she does, it's not going to be on the middle class. It'll be on the super rich, and not by much. And she won't even be able to do it. And if you look at the Heritage Foundation's index of economic freedom, we are the most capitalistic country, larger than 90 million people. We're not becoming socialist. We're highly capitalist.
Actually, a lot of the youth have talked about becoming communists. There are communist parties starting by some of the youth because they're sick and tired of what is called democracy, which has become nothing more than, a piece of crap in this country. But there is no more freedom. They took that away several years ago when they took away women's rights. So, to me, the minute you start taking people's rights away because of your religion, then you've taken away freedom. You've created community. Hi, Nick. Tell us what it's like there in Spain.
It's like, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Yep.
you actually
Okay,
very
yes,
well.
it's like almost midnight here in Spain, so they're actually they do go to sleep here, believe it or not, because they closed a lot of the places I've been around. But let me tell you about Miss Harris.
Oh
okay?
shit! We could take the hot
and Joe Biden.
Yeah.
As much as people, and I know people have personal gripes against the Donald, but we did contact our friends at the PBGC, and they are in the attempt to destroy small pension plans because some of these people have made early distributions out of their plan during COVID-19. Okay, when let me tell you what's going on. Our business owners who are small business owners were desperate for cash because they were broke. So what they did is they terminated their plan. And according to the PBGC rules, you can't take any money out until they give their blessing. Well, the PBGC was on hiatus. In other words, because of COVID, they weren't doing anything. So they never gave the blessing for to terminate. So here you are starving. And so what you're doing is you said, where can I get some money? And they went and took the plans now because your friend Joe Biden and Harris funded these people with $80 billion. They're in the process of destroying small businesses around the United States. And we're supposed to love Harris and Biden for this? Okay.
Well, I blame Trump again because if Trump had reacted properly.
I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about Harris and Biden.
Right.
Why would anyone vote for
nobody else was in charge except Trump, who was making
I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Harris and Biden.
Those people would not have had to sell their pension plans out or close them down early.
I'm talking about Harris and Biden. Harris and Biden and the government state. They all have beautiful
when COVID hit, those people needed money.
But this is the precise issue, though, that many of us have been sounding.
When COVID
this is the precise issue so many of us have been trying to bring up and bring attention to, is that when the government regulates and increases their agencies and that sort of stuff, they don't hurt big corporations. They hurt small and medium businesses.
That's exactly correct.
And people like myself who have borrowed money against our house. I mean, obviously I'm doing well now, but in the past have borrowed money against their houses, who have sat there and argued with their partners and said, oh, look, you know, we don't have enough money for electricity this week or this month, or we don't have this, that, we have to cut back on this thing, and it's embarrassing. You go and pay for a drink at a bar and your credit card declines. And, you know, those of us that have been through that, we don't want to hear Obama or Warren come out and tell us that we didn't build that when we've got success, and then tell us that we've got to give half to them, and then over-regulate us and make our lives more difficult. And that's something that people around the world are feeling. So when Rick says that the country's not turning into a socialist country, it's not turning into a communist country, it's turning into something that's almost worse, because you want to have all these social services, you want to increase government, but you're going to protect the biggest corporations in the world. And it's horrific. It's really, really painful.
So wait, I'm not going to fight you hard on that. The huge corporations are a huge problem, especially with AI, because AI has the power to run our brains eventually.
Rick, this is why I keep coming at you personally, because I think that you're more in line with my politics than anybody else, right? People all think that I gravitate towards Adam Lamparello and Dan Worthington, but really I'm an old school liberal, right? So I don't get it. You've got 4 or 5 major companies that control the food supply, that control the farming. You've got 4 or 5 major insurance companies. You've got 4 or 5 major banks in the country. You've got 4 or 5 health insurance companies. You've got 7 companies that control 90% of the media. Where's the choice? You've got no choice. We don't have choice anymore. Where's the small business? All these small businesses have been squeezed.
I agree with you about that. We've been crap at antitrust. Teddy Roosevelt came in. He cleaned house. He was a lunatic. He was a genius, and one of the great Republican presidents. He came in and he was a trust buster, and he started in giving government the job of making sure that companies didn't gain too much power, that there was competition. And now
so isn't that what liberal viewpoints are? That's my issue, that the Democrats don't appear to be doing that. And because Trump is not really a Republican, he's a Democrat, right? He's actually going in there and saying, we're going to deal with these companies. We're going to inject competition into the market. We're going to drop the tax rate to increase production in our country. We're going to he just said in one of his last rallies, we're going to take a blowtorch to regulation to help small businesses out. Isn't that a good thing?
Maybe some of it, but Biden was the first person to appoint a head of the FEC, who's the lady, Lena, somebody who's actually gone on after some monopolists.
Yeah, but that's not
If
what's
it's the
going
person
on.
I'm thinking of, you couldn't get much further left.
That's
Hell
not
no.
what's
Like, I
going
mean-
on. What they're doing is they're going after small businesses. They create these rules that are for huge corporations, and they apply them against small businesses, and they beat the tar out of them. Okay, and that's what I'm seeing right now on the front. I'm on the front lines watching Biden and Harris destroy small businesses by using these big corporation rules. Now, what really is upsetting is these government employees will get their paycheck every week. They're going to get their pension at the end of their retirement, while my clients get punished by these stupid Democrats, and everybody worships them, and there's no reason to worship them whatsoever. Most people work for small businesses. 49% of the population work for small businesses. 99% of the companies are small companies, and
Yeah, I'm afraid I definitely do have to leave. So I'm just going to leave you on this very quick note. A friend of mine just sent me from Henderson in Nevada, sent me a Facebook post and some of the comments. The Facebook post said, it feels like the country is waiting for the results of an STD test. And the first two comments was, one person said, I hope we don't come down with Donalditis. And the other one said, I hope we don't have chlamydia. So maybe that's how the whole country feels. Everyone hates somebody. But good luck to you guys. God bless, and I'll hopefully be on tomorrow's show.
And I'm about to run out of juice, so
We will, by the way,
see you tonight or tomorrow.
The 2 Point Australia guys will make an attempt to actually beam into your election show very briefly while we're there, and then I'll see you on your next shows after that.
All right.
See you guys.
Sounds good. See you on World Edition. Hey, Kim, I had a quick question for you. And everything. Hey, Kim, I had a quick question for you, because one of the things that I heard recently, and it came out actually on the ABC stuff that I was watching, was that apparently in North Carolina, the rural vote was higher than some of the city vote. And we know that that can sometimes be an issue, since a lot of times the rural voters, and as part of that was Helena, because they were actually surprised, because I think it's something like 58% of the people that were impacted by Helena had come out to vote. And a lot of that rural vote can be Republican voters. So I just wonder, how much do you think that's going to play an impact on our election? Because they were talking to one of our local affiliates, I think it was the ABC affiliate, and he was saying that a lot of the votes had already come out from rural North Carolina, particularly those that have been impacted by Hurricane Helena. And that was early voting.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I think the hurricane made a big impact on people getting out to vote. I think a lot of people realized we need some changes in our laws. A lot of people don't understand that FEMA reacted as fast as they could. They were here and waiting to go, but they have to wait for their articles from the government to go in. The biggest problem was Congress, who sits on their butts and do absolutely nothing to make sure that the funds are available when we need them. There were funds. The funds sit in everybody's going around. So I think misinformation was the biggest problem with the recovery time, because, as you're aware, they had to literally shut down complete operations for almost 2 days, because the people up in the mountains took out their guns and held their guns out, not letting people on their land, because, Trump spread that horrible rumor that, FEMA was coming there to take their land from them. So, I hope that people get out and vote from the real facts and not the fake media and Trump making up stuff. I think that's the biggest problem in this whole election, is everybody just thinks it's harmless running of his mouth. And I think it creates the biggest problem. But actually, I've heard people say they love that he does that they love having a president that behaves that way. So, I mean, who knows? They don't have to change his diaper, do they? Or clean up after him. So, Rick, what's your thoughts?
I'm sorry, I was tweeting a "Get Out the Vote" tweet. I've been
yeah. I mean,
you guys have 2 more hours on the East Coast to get there. There's still time. I just saw a long thread on X/Twitter saying that day of voting looks like it might be trending Democratic, which means that even states like Florida, which would be crazy, might be in play. So you can make a difference. The outcome is not set yet. Turnout wins. Get to the polls.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, if you have
this is what I tell people. This is the only freedom you have. The 100%. Nobody can take that away from you when you're standing there filling out those dots. Nobody's filling your hand out for you. Nobody's doing it for you. This is for you, your voice. It doesn't mean your voice will win, but learn to exercise it a little bit. And then, maybe next time around, you'll get out there and you'll campaign a little bit. I mean, I didn't get involved with politics. I mean, my dad and I talk politics all the time. And it was good debating all the time, because I saw things different than he did. But I learned a lot from it, and we didn't hate each other at the end of the day. But we saw things. But as I got older, what I did recognize was some of the things that he was telling me made a whole lot more sense when I was older.
Yeah, like I grew up
in life a little bit to understand, right?
Yeah, I grew up in a solidly Republican household. My parents, each time Nixon won, they had a party, an election night party. And everybody came, whether they voted for Nixon or Humphrey or George Wallace. And, it was not like it is now. And, and I respected my dad's choices. He just didn't like assholes. And so he voted for who he thought wasn't an asshole. Sometimes we agreed, sometimes we didn't.
And that's how you come up with solutions. Actually, this is what I tell people when I'm in a company. Everything that we do does not have to align. It's just when we go for final product, we need to be communicating and aligning together. But you usually come up with your best solutions when everybody's got different ideas and suggestions. And
Adam earlier said that he doesn't want government messing with people's lives. And what he meant is he wants Trump because Trump is anti-regulation. But I kind of agree with him, but I think that makes me want to vote for Harris because I think Trump's craziness very much interferes with people's lives. And I feel like sane government by people who are trying hard to govern, who kind of know what they're doing. You may not agree with what they're doing. They may not be perfect. They certainly won't be perfect at doing it. But sane government just sits there and tries to run the country and lets business saves America over and over.
It does. I mean, you're right. I mean, and small businesses save the communities, and we need to put more effort into the small businesses. I'm watching Albania regrow again. I went there, met with the people, and there you don't have all these commercialized stores and hotels. It's all boutiques and small businesses and families. It's a lot of pride, but the communities are thriving. Right? They are healthy. They're thriving. The people are healthy. And this is what's important. And I think we need to get back to that. We need to get back to supporting our communities, supporting each other, and quit letting big government tell us what to do. And I'm going to tell you what, to me, the Republicans are big mouth, big government. But I think we're at the top of the hour. Mark, you got anything to say? We missed you.
Like I said, we're having discussions. Actually, we're talking about a lot of the stuff we were talking about even during the course. I've actually got a couple folks here at the watch party, and they've been talking about things like immigration and a number of other things. So if you're not doing anything in Durham, come on down to the Hayti Heritage Center. We'll be watching the results, seeing how things go. And as one of my workers said, folks will either be very happy or very sad. So they'll either be drowning in their sorrows or in jubilation. So we'll see how it all plays out and all along those lines. So right now, we're just waiting for the audience to get here and see how it comes about and all along those lines. But definitely,
for people.
Yeah, we might have some tissue here as well.
Some of the shows tomorrow to see who's happy and sad. But
right, so everybody have a good election night. May all your electoral wishes come true.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you at 9.
See you at 9.
Oops, what happened?
I think we hit the button at the same time, so I'll get it.